The White House has released a document on Trump administration's counter-terrorism strategy. Now, this 16-page document outlines the key focus areas of Donald Trump's government on its action plan to counter terrorism. Let's dive deeper into what this new strategy document entails. In the first 2 points, it talks about the evolving collaboration between cartels and nation-states and alliances between what it calls far left and Islamists. In fact, this document brands it as a red-green alliance. The move also seeks to prioritize neutralization of violent secular political groups who have caught anti-American and radically pro-transgender ideology. It also states that the American government will use every possible tool to cripple them. Meanwhile, in the West Asian chapter, this document terms Iran as the greatest threat emanating from the region. It mentions Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities and its axis of resistance as the primary threat to the United States. It also points at various operations carried out against Iran, including the assassination of the former IRGC commander Qasem Soleimani, Operation Midnight Hammer in 2025, and Operation Epic Fury in February this year to mitigate what the U.S. perceives as a threat. U.S. counter-terrorism strategy also reflects Donald Trump's long-held position on Europe's border policy. The document, interestingly, links terrorism with immigration and calls Europe a target and an incubator of terrorist threats. The document also states that unfiltered migration has been the transmission belt for terrorists. It also puts far-left and transgender groups, as I said, in the same bracket as terrorists and places drug traffickers at the center of America's counter-terrorism efforts. So that by far has been, the latest document as far as the counter-terrorism strategy of America is concerned, extremely crucial. And there's a lot that has been said, but there's a lot that has been left unsaid as well. And we will try and give you a perspective of what both sides mean. But as far as what has been written in this document, remember, this is extremely crucial, calling Europe the incubator of terror threats, putting radical pro-transgender ideology, this is the term that has been used, in the same bracket as terrorists, and talking of the red-green alliance. The red stands for far left, the green stands for Islamist jihadist ideology. That is being talked about in this particular document. Of course, Iran is also taking center stage in this document, considering the fact that the US is at war with Iran at the moment. No end to that war, despite the fact that both sides have been, negotiating and talking about a peace proposal. But Iran has been termed as the biggest threat from West Asia, talking about IRGC commander killings and, an overall threat that has emanated reportedly from Iran against the United States of America. That by far has been what this document has been all about. But it's interesting how the Trump administration has put cartels, which it has been, striking, and it has been talking about drug cartels emanating from Venezuela. It's also gone on to talk about how, particularly in the South Asian region, terror groups like Al-Qaeda have been hit by the United States of America. So this is, the latest counter-terrorism strategy by the Trump administration. What it means and what it really reflects as far as the priorities and the future strategy is concerned of the Trump administration really will need to be seen. At the moment, of course, it's interesting, and many have been taken aback by the fact that pro-transgender ideology has been categorized as terrorism. So that, by far has been the interesting bit about this latest document, and we will give you a perspective on what this means. But that is by far what this entire document details. So we've been telling you what the details of this latest counter-terrorism strategy of the United States of America and the Trump administration is concerned. It talks about Europe as the incubator of a terror threat, puts the onus on immigrants and the border policy that European countries have been following. That, is the interesting bit. Let me quickly welcome on the show John Rosamando. He's the president of Viking Research Associates, geostrategist and expert on national security. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. at the moment. John, good evening. Welcome to WION. Can I start by asking you, this is an interesting document. It calls Europe the incubator of terror threats. Iran, as expected, has been put as the biggest threat to the United States of America. But interestingly, pro-transgender ideology has also been put in the same bracket as terrorists. What do you make of it?
Well, you just have to look at, the extremism. I mean, in this country, we've had a rampant wave of people driven by transgender ideology to murder, Christians or others. I mean, according to some reports, the man who murdered Charlie Kirk was connected. And for President Trump, it's personal because Charlie was a close friend of the president's. I mean, terrorism is defined as the political politically motivated violence. So transgenderism, if it is at the motivation for activities, that would be a terrorist act by the definition of terrorism.
Okay, John, if that's the definition of terrorism, and you say that Donald Trump and the entire Trump administration is empathetic to the kind of incidents that have happened as far as the ideology is concerned, it's interesting to me because I come from India, and India has been at the receiving end of terrorism emanating from Pakistan. And the entire world knows that. Today, we're also observing the anniversary of Operation Sindoor, where we gave a response to Pakistan terrorists. Why is Pakistan's name not there in this document?
Well, I think that we have a very complicated relationship with Pakistan. And, the president, has the personal connections. I completely agree that Pakistan has been an incubator of jihadist terrorism. Osama bin Laden, the Pahalgam attacks, and I find it very difficult to understand why the United States government insists on treating Pakistan as an ally. I mean, if you ask me, India is a more logical partner. But there seems to be something going on in the political establishment in Washington that views Pakistan as a friend because it might give us some intelligence at some point.
And therefore, my next question is, isn't it the same blunder that the United States of America made before 9/11, keeping Pakistan close as an ally? And then you had Osama bin Laden carrying out the 9/11 attack, and he was found in Pakistan. And therefore, what kind of strategies the Trump administration is really looking at, because they themselves and American citizens themselves have suffered Pakistani-sponsored terrorism?
Well, I think that it's very short-sighted. I mean, President Trump is all about personal connections. He has, Field Marshal Asim Munir, who says nice things about him, and he looks the other way. I mean, Pakistan, you're completely right. Pakistan is the largest supporter of Sunni terrorism in South Asia and is an incubator of jihadism beyond.
All right, quickly then, also let me shift our focus to what this document calls Europe. It calls Europe an incubator of terror threats, putting the blame on immigration. Now, we know that illegal immigration has been one of the priorities for the Trump administration, but do you think it also reflects the kind of strained ties that America and its European allies are going through at the moment?
Well, actually, I've been following this issue for a long time, and back about 10 years ago, this ISIS supporter released a document in which they talked about the hijra, the migration of Islamic extremists to Europe in the intent of conquering the continent and carrying out terrorist activities. So, I mean, we can't ignore that. The Muslim Brotherhood has been talking for decades about conquering Europe and conquering the second Rome. I mean, ISIS's magazine was called Rumiyya, which means Roman, in reference to hadith about the conquering of old Rome and in Europe by Islamists.
All right, I'll leave it there, John. Let's wait and see how United States under the Trump administration really moves forward with this document and whether any lessons are learned as far as counter-terrorism is concerned. But thank you very much for joining us at the moment and sharing your perspective.